Hello, everybody, and welcome to Keeping Runners on the Road. We are Doctors Mark Humbert and Cameron Garber here with Body Smart, and we love to help keep runners on the road here at Body Smart. So we bring you this video series as a review of some of the relevant literature and information that's around right now. And so today we wanted to share with you why rice is dead.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, dun, dun. So you may have heard of rice, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation for an acute injury. I'm here to tell you that is false. No longer use rice. And it's actually been false always. But
That's true.
But it's more false now. As research has come out, we have found that is not the optimal way to do things. And so so rest is the main thing that they've cut out. Ice as well, because it can slow down kind of that inflammatory process. And it really doesn't do anything other than kind of numbs things and feels good.
More analgesic.
Yeah. But the rest really backfires and causes more problems than it helps. So we don't rest anymore. After rice, it turned into price, protect rice, essentially protect and then rice. Yeah. And the protect, I kind of disagree with. We'll go into that later.
Yes, yeah.
And then police is what it turned in. Yeah.
That's a bad joke.
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch it. My bad. Police. Police is protect.
Optimal loading.
And then lice. What's that?
You don't want lice. No, optimal loading. That's
optimal loading.
Yeah.
We're good. Police, so that's better. I still am not a big fan. The optimal loading is important. The ice, again, we've dropped. And so then we get into what is now
peace and love.
Peace and love. That's the new recommendation, is peace and love. So we're about to go through peace and love, what all of those things mean.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll dive into each of them individually. I'll just give you a quick run through of what each of those are. So P is protect, again, kind of like before. Elevate, avoid anti-inflammatories, compression, education, and that was me drawing the and symbol right there. It's real nice. And then load, optimism, vascularization, and exercise. So let's get ready to dive into each of those. So the first one, protect. Let's hear your point of view on that.
I don't think we need to protect it. People put things in a boot or other things like that, maybe for a day or two, but honestly, I would say keep running, keep moving right away. Protecting it doesn't really do much. You're not placing any additional tissue damage. See, that's how good of an idea that was. You're not putting any additional tissue damage by moving it, because you're not moving it to that extreme range. For the most part, there's no reason to protect it because you're not going to harm it further as long as you're keeping with pain-free activities, kind of like we're going to talk about. Yeah. As long as you're doing things that don't increase the pain, activity is still going to hurt. Movement and activity is still going to hurt. But as long as it's not increasing the pain, then we're fine.
And so I think that's the part to take, right? Protecting it insofar as we're not increasing the pain.
Right.
But I think we can both see where the danger lies is when people hear protect, what they hear is don't move it, total rest, right?
Not relative rest. Put a brace on it. Bracing to me is like the worst thing you can do.
And so I think like an informed understanding of what protect means and an active protection is really the best way to understand that. Okay. So elevation, again, still relevant, still necessary. We're just getting that fluid coming down back into circulation.
One of the best ways to get rid of fluid. Yeah. So elevate with an ankle pump. Boom. Moves fluid down the leg really well.
Okay. So this is another area that we had a little bit of disagreement, but I want to hear your take. So avoiding anti-inflammatories. So in my estimation of things, anti-inflammatories can be helpful when not overdone. So a lot of the time people will take 3 to 4 tablets of over-the-counter, so 600 to 800 milligrams. And prescription doses are that way. Honestly, it's too much. I read a research article a couple of years ago about how the best way to manage inflammation is actually 1 to 2 tablets at the most, usually just 1, more frequently though, instead, so that you're managing it from swelling up, but you're not overloading it so much that you're totally shutting down the inflammatory process. You want some of the inflammatory process. And so that's what they're talking about, why avoid anti-inflammatories. I think just doing it smarter than what we've done it in the past of just totally block any inflammation. You need those cytokines. So when a tissue breaks down, the way it breaks down releases certain chemical markers into the body that get flagged by our white blood cells and the anabolic processes to build it back up to repair and heal it.
And so if we don't have those inflammatory processes going on, then it can't heal quite as quickly or can't heal the right way. What we want to avoid though, and this is where I think that the anti-inflammatory at a low dose, low level can be helpful, is we want to avoid it becoming distended. We want to avoid any swelling at all if we can. So I compress right away and to me, like as heavy a compression as you can tolerate, and then elevate ankle pump. That seems to really, really work, because if we can keep the tissue from getting distended, that's where most of our, well, I would say almost all of our pain comes from, if not all, comes from actually the tissue distension after it swells up. And then the other thing is we don't want it to heal. So if normally the tissue's like this, we get a tear from a sprain or strain, we don't want it to heal knitted, loose. We want it to heal back together the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. And so by keeping the swelling out, that's really important.
So definitely some nuance to each of these. And I think that's probably why the recommendation was given to avoid them, is because people just do overdo it, right? The vitamin I.
Right. As vitamin I.
And so like you said, that hits the nail on the head, like low dose so that we get some of that inflammation out and we're not getting that secondary injury due to.
We're just slowing down that inflammatory cascade, not stopping it.
Yeah.
So that it's not overdoing it.
So I think that's a really important point. Love that. Okay. So now we're on to, I think we covered compression already. So
compression is the bomb.
And then
do a ton of it.
Yeah.
So education is the next, right?
Yes.
Education is the most critical point. Go see somebody like Mark who knows all about everything. Getting the right type of help quickly, you can really reduce the amount of time it's going to take to recover from that acute injury. Yep. So like if you can get in within hours, it usually only takes a couple of days. If you can get in within days, it usually takes a week or two. If you can get in within a week or two, it usually takes a month or two or more. So like that, and if you wait for months, then you move into a chronic phase, and then it really takes a long time to recover from. Definitely. So get in right away.
And choose trusted resources. There's so much misinformation out there on the internet about what you should do surrounding pretty much anything.
Right.
So find someone that is well versed in the literature and the science and can actually help you get the relief that you need.
Right.
Avoid just like costly medical treatments that probably don't work. Like you don't need to go
get x-rays, MRIs, things like that. Unless you can't walk on it, like if it's completely non-weight bearing, then not a bad idea to get an x-ray, but you don't need to go to the ER. Go to an Instacare but if you can wait the next day, it doesn't matter to wait. Compress, elevate, whatever. Most of the time does not require an ER unless like things are not lined up right or you're bleeding.
Yes, there you go.
Then go, please.
Problems.
But for an ankle sprain, you don't need to go see the ER. Like it's not going to change by the time you can call your primary care doc the next day. So
yeah. So next, let's talk about your favorite thing, load.
Yeah, load. It's all about load. So as we're recovering from it, it's that progressive loading of the tissue so that it can tolerate the forces placed on it.
Yeah, we need that to adapt. Just sitting there and resting is not going to do it. You have to put load. You've got to move those tissues. You've got to be active.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen,
yeah, there you go. One of my favorites of this is optimism. So optimism is such a huge part in recovering from any type of injury. That belief in yourself that you can get better, that your body can heal, that your body can heal itself is super important in the recovery process. It makes, when we look across the board, having that positive attitude, having that movement optimism in terms of short-term and long-term outcomes better across the board.
Yeah, movement doesn't make things worse. Resting does. Our body is designed to move. It's supposed to move. Even through an injury, the way to get it to be stronger through an injury is to move. Just keep that movement pain-free. Do as much as you can. Pain-free, no pain increase. It's not going to be pain-free. You just sprained your ankle or twisted your knee or whatever. It's not going to be pain-free, but it's not increasing your pain. And so keep moving.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Next, vascularization. Fancy.
So back to the movement.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So just choosing some low impact cardiovascular activities where you're getting the blood flowing, getting the nutrients to those areas to heal it. Most importantly, again, keep moving. Multiple different types of movement are going to be crucial for shortening that time window for healing.
Right. So initially we want to go low load, higher rep, just to keep it moving, to flush the fluid out of the joint, things like that. and then building that load as we go. So load optimization, where you start high rep, low load as a pain modality, basically to keep pain away, and then progressively load that up as you can tolerate. And you want to go heavy load so that you build up the strength of that tissue.
Yeah. And then last is kind of like a redundant one a little bit. We've talked about that. Is just exercise, right? Get out multiple forms of exercise and continue moving. The nice thing, right, as Cameron just mentioned, initially it can help with that pain response. Also, we know that there's a lot of good data on how it affects our mood and our temperament, right? And so, like, especially after getting an injury, to be able to continue exercise and getting some of those feel-good chemicals flowing can be really nice. Just another way to kind of attack that injury
and help with the optimism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The other thing is, one of my favorite, and by favorite I mean like least favorite things that people say is, I sprained my ankle, so I just haven't been doing anything for a while. And it's like, wait a second. You have the whole rest of your body that you can exercise and move,
all of your...
which I would argue you should still be moving. You should still be running or doing other things with that ankle. It's fine. It's not going to cause additional damage if you go run on a sprained ankle or a twisted knee or whatever. But the other thing is there's all kinds of other things that you can do to exercise the rest of your body. And so you might as well keep the rest of it in shape, even if that one area is injured. So resting is not the answer. So that's why rice is dead.
Yes.
So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks so much for joining us on Keeping Runners on the Road. My name is, again, Dr. Cameron Garber with Mark Humbert. We are from Body Smart. If you have any questions about that, we would love to help you out. So hit us up, either drop a comment down below or reach out to us at Body Smart. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, all those good things so that other people can get this information too. And you can check out our next videos. So we will catch you on the next one.